Hello, friends. This is E. Giuliano, and today it's a Tuesday. It's the 11th of January. I tried making this video a couple of times yesterday, but the connection just was not working for me. So I'm going to try once again. Hopefully this works out. I'm here to share a weekly roundup where we'll look at a whole bunch of different altcoins, some popular altcoins, and take a look at longer term timeframes, weekly price charts, and yeah, we'll go through a whole bunch of them. So if you have any requests or suggestions, definitely throw them into the comments below. And if you're not subscribed yet to the channel, why don't you subscribe? I'll put these out once a week, the weekly roundups. And on top of that, yeah, if you have any like buttons that you haven't hit yet, then hit that like button. We'll get started with the BTC price chart against USD weekly. If you're interested in this longer term trend line, in the previous video, Bitcoin video, there is a bit of discussion about this long regression line. So where are we currently? Let's load up a chart layout. Let's load up the BTC weekly roundup. And here we go. All right. Yeah, so there it is. I talked about that line in the previous video there, amongst other things. Whoops, I always do that, like a little button mistake. Anyway, okay, let's jump in here. So what's happening on this weekly price chart? Interesting. Looked different yesterday when it was green here. But anyway, that's this week's candle. The previous week is this big, long down candle, the red one. So there are a couple of things to note. One thing is potentially this uptrending support line will act as support. That's one of the possibilities. The other is it will eventually break down the price below it. So that's another possibility. I'm not really going to hold on to this. Well, actually, yeah, we won't hold on to this here right now. I'm going to hide that and see what it looks like in future. So really the main thought about this chart that I'm seeing is that the close of this candle here is definitely below the close of the previous low here, okay? And so we are starting to make a bit of a downtrend on a closing basis. The only good thing about that here is that the intra-week trading was not lower than what we had previously. So technically there is some sort of intra-week support here, okay? But overall, when I look at that using a closing basis, we are lower. We are making, we have made a lower low than previously. And I think that's significant enough because the next really zone here for price action is basically this stuff here, right? So in that sense, there is still a good opportunity, especially there's a lot of sentiment now for everything to turn around. And yeah, that might happen, or there might be a short turnaround and then a further dumping, in which case then we might be looking at the potential final dumping based on an Elliott wave flat pattern count potential. So we'll see. Having said that, it still might need to last all the way to June. That is also possible. But really the cluster of time here and the way that this move has been progressing, it just feels like you know, we've got an opportunity in that sense. But I do think the price will have to come down to these levels because we closed below the previous significant closing level. And even though there is a wick down here, it doesn't go that far down. I'll just go to the candles. Even though there is a wick down here, still you could see the price is still relatively weak. So we're going to see, even though it did get bought up here. So we'll see how this starts playing out. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I'm guessing on a daily level we might rebound first and then come back lower. On a weekly level, I don't know what that will look like in terms of the candles. Okay. All right, cool. That's it. Other than that, there's definitely potential for the negative momentum to continue and maybe start ending and turning towards relatively positive momentum. We'll see. So it does look like there's a potential for finishing somewhere within here. Anyway, I look forward to it. Stick around, keep watching, and I'll be back. All right, so that's the BTC price chart. Let's move on. Okay, let's get into a KMD price chart, Komodo platform against BTC. I like looking at the BTC price charts. I notice a lot of people look at the USDT price charts, so you can check those out as you wish. And then here we talk BTC price because really it just keeps it a bit more direct. And I think that going into the future, there's a good chance that the BTC ratios will become again popular. So, and it's also a good indicator of an alt season or when an altcoin is performing well, because regardless of what, I mean, if BTC is going down, then yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into it. Bottom line is I like looking at these BTC price charts, and I hope you do too. And so we are here. Now, one thing that we notice on the KMD price chart is we are starting to exit this downtrending channel. So, I mean, as you saw with the Bitcoin price, the price can definitely come back into the channel. It's not unheard of, but bottom line is we are seeming to exit this local downtrend. The other thing I wanted to notice is that we have made, excuse me, we have made a big bounce after coming down. We've made a big bounce up and down. We made a smaller bounce up and down, and then we've made a smaller bounce up and down. And even within the smaller bounce up and down, when we go into it, we can see that potentially here we've made another smaller bounce up and down within this bigger small bounce up and down. So my sense is that we are the, so to speak, the ball after having fallen pretty hard here, not having the momentum to rebound, higher than it did. So it just falls, rebounds, back down, rebounds, back down, rebounds, back down. So I think at some level, it's losing momentum, and that at least is a potential for the momentum to reverse. So that's the good thing about the Komodo weekly price chart. The not so good thing is just the weakness of the price action after this big bounce here. There was no real follow through. We didn't even close anywhere near these levels up here. And instead it was just a much smaller bounce and a further smaller bounce. But now we are narrowing with these Bollinger Bands. So we'll see what starts to happen, what activity is potential. In terms of the momentum indicators, I mean, it's kind of flat and sideways. It's been relatively green. We'll see if it can get any bigger, but it's been going on for some time and staying pretty flat. So relatively, price is flat, and there is definitely a potential for the price to continue going down and reaching new lows, especially if Bitcoin starts rocketing up higher. All right. So this is one of the charts that's on the lower end of its price action. It's a similar in its life cycle to LTC Litecoin, which is basically reaching its lowest of the lows as well. We'll get there in a few. All right, that's it for KMD price chart. Moving along, we're going to take a look at the Pirate Chain price chart. Let's get into this Pirate Chain weekly price chart. One thing that's nice about this Pirate Chain is it's like, oh my goodness, fat finger, is progressively providing this a relatively positive momentum. So at some point we're looking for something in the green positive momentum, but it might just be small. Before we can get a big rally, we might need a bit of that KMD style sideways. That's possible. The price on a weekly basis is challenging its current resistance levels on the downtrending resistance. So something is bound to happen at some point soon. We are breaking below these levels that we had wanted to hold, this 2200 level. So I do get the sense when we look here at this longer term uptrending line that the price could well come all the way back down towards here and find its support somewhere in this level here. That's possible. And in fact, it's quite looking more and more likely. I mean, look at the trajectory down. We have this trajectory down here, okay, which provided that resistance and, you know, lower highs, and then a dump. And now we've got, again, another lower high and then a dump. And so this lower high has a potential with another lower high to make continued lower lows, whether it's on this side of the red line or on this side of the red line. The steepness, the trend of this move is pretty strong. So, however, again, it does look like it will eventually reach its end and do what it needs to do. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. We'll keep watching it as it plays out. But on a weekly time frame right now, let's take a look at the candle formations. Yeah, you know, you see, so this candle, oops, this candle here, the I call it intermediate. What it means is basically it's like a pausing. It's in the middle of a move, middle of a trend, and it's like kind of a pause in the trend, and that's what this candle is playing out to be for sure. The body is right in the middle. It's kind of thin. You've got an equally long wick above and below, and they're pretty nicely significant size. So there you have it. It looks like the price is looking to go lower, but not for a lot longer. I do think that Pirate Chain will be having its turnaround at some point soon. Having said that, they have, you know, some of these altcoin charts have been known to float seemingly sideways for a long time. This is the end of the first half of the year. This is the first half of the year right here. Okay, so we'll see what might end up happening here. Okay, so that's it for the Pirate Chain. I'm going to exit out of this one on the weekly price chart, and let's move on. We're going to go to the crypto charts over here. We'll first take a look at ADA, and then we'll look at Theta, Icx, TRAC, DERO. We'll look at LTC, BNB, Chainlink. We'll look at DOT, Ftm, Solana, Avax, MATIC, Luna, and we'll look at Atom. So let's get into the ADA price chart on the weekly time frame. We have all these disabled. Let's bring back Bollinger Band, Moving Average, and Ichimoku Cloud. Let's remove some of this action. And wow, the ADA price chart is really flirting with this Ichimoku Cloud right now. Never quite closed down at this box, but still, you know, who knows? Now we are looking, we have still a lower high here. We are working on a higher low. That's really what is happening. If we look at the candle formations, nothing screams out. However, yeah, look, rejected by the bodies of the candles being rejected at this significant support resistance zone, you know, previous significant resistance here. And then it turns support on this weekly candle and provided a slowdown zone and a bit of turnaround intra-week zone here. So this region here, significant resistance we're seeing. It doesn't look super good for the price, but having said that, maybe it just needs to chop around a bit and then we'll see. Otherwise, yeah, like it's making relatively positive momentum. It has seen quite a big dump. There's definitely a chance, like also even like the price looks like it's rounding a bit. So maybe there's a potential here for a further slowdown and a consolidation of energy. You know, this was a pretty precipitous, steep drop of price here, clearly breaking the previous trend. Like when we draw a trend line here, we see that it has clearly broken a very significant long-term trend. And so that takes time. That takes a bit of time after to finish the full correction. Okay, especially if we consider this move up as an impulse. If we look at it that way, then this is just the beginning of the correction. It'll have some sort of move up and then more move down, and it might be simply that. But again, that requires a bunch of action to happen. Still down at the lower ends. Maybe you get a move higher, but further rejection and then further move lower. Obviously, anyway, we'll see. This is the BTC price chart, right? That's why the ADA USD price could go in the opposite direction depending on what BTC is doing. So, and having said that, maybe it doesn't need to be a bigger dump further down. Maybe it's something smaller, and maybe it doesn't quite take this structure that I'm playing out here. There's many possibilities here. I don't think it's going to get that much higher before coming back down. I just don't see that, but you never know. I think playing within this cloud area could definitely be happening over the first half of the year. Okay, even if the price pops up to about like 3,000, 3,500 Satoshis and meets the 20-week moving average and comes back down and tries to do stuff here, like there's a chance, and then maybe comes back further down and then does a thing, you know, and can continue. Things like that. Anyway, that's where we are with ADA. It has broken a very significant uptrending trend line. And so, yeah, it's going to take some time. All right, we're out of here for the ADA price chart. Let us go to Theta Btc. What do we see here on Theta Btc? Interestingly, holding still the uptrending channel here. So we'll see. Can it hold? Can it maintain? And we're looking for the opportunity here. What this does is it does provide a potential higher low here and then can move higher. So we have previous low. Let's look at the candle pattern formation and see, oh, wow, okay, there's definitely a potential here for a significant turnaround on a weekly time frame. This, yeah, I mean, it's very narrow and thin and pin-like, the body, I should say. Interesting. Nicely confluencing with the uptrending channel. Makes a move up, rejected at the 20-period average, come back low to test and confirm that that this region here will hold as a significant low on this big time frame, and it can move higher. That is quite interesting. The other thing I would consider is 1 bullish green candle, 3 bearish red candles. I definitely can see the opportunity for green candles coming in the next week. So we'll see what this current week ends up looking like, but stick around for more. Theta looks like it is poised to make a move higher in the coming while. Like this also is a level which is a significant zone of previous resistance, and now turning potentially as support. I mean, that's massive, but we'll also know pretty quickly if this is not going to hold, and then we'll know if we're making lower lows. That's it. That's the only story there. And then at that point, you'll be playing within this price level here, trying to hold it as some sort of support. But the best bet right now is for the turnaround to happen here. That's a very strong bet, like a strong move, I should say. None of this financial advice, but you know, it's a really good possibility. And then you also have, you know, you're making this relatively positive momentum, and you can actually potentially cross over very soon into the bullish category of momentum. So that's that. It could, yeah, again, it could keep consolidating and break below this channel, but we like our chances here. This looks good. If it can hold, that's definitely a really good sign. You've had your spring and a back test of the spring, and then you continue. Massive on a weekly time frame, nonetheless. Okay, so keep an eye out for Theta moving forward. Next, Icx Icon. All right, so many projects, so many things happening. Icon is another one of the prices that is down towards its lower end. I would say ADA, Cardano, is around the middle range. Same with Theta. They had massive runs up and are now consolidating in their middle of their correction. Oh wow, ICX has fallen below the trend line that we drew last time. Oh wow, yeah. So previous week, you know, we had held this wick action trend line here. Okay, we held it with, see, we held it with this candle, this previous week candle, but it was not a great turnaround candle. This was a nice turnaround candle. But even on a weekly time frame, such a nice turnaround candle only lasted for 2 weeks, and then the move down has now pushed it potentially to lower lows. At least it's trading currently, you know, at the previous wicks down here, and it has definitely gone below the previous week, last week. So ICX chart looking a little less bullish, more bearish. I was thinking maybe there's a chance to bounce off of this trend line and move at least towards the 20-week average. But it looks like the ICX price wants to come down here to this 2100 Satoshis level, challenge here, and maybe even challenge lower down towards this 1700 level, in which case, I don't know what the rest of the altcoin market would be doing there. It would be probably in pain. The other option is that we are going to make here at some point, and you know, this candle is still in the making, so technically we could close higher than last week's close. So this is just intra-week action, but you know, maybe it just needs to make a lower low than previously, or maybe come down again like to this 2100 level and find that base and go higher. That's possible. The only issue is once you start coming down to this low here, your previous low, you did relatively make some lower highs. You already had this low. If you start making lower lows, then you're really showing a downtrend, rather than what was previously happening was we were getting this squeezing within this triangular type of formation. But now it looks like it doesn't want to continue with that triangulation anymore in the same way. Yeah. All right. So that's ICX for you. And that's, yeah, you know, 3 red candles in a row could mean we're going back up, or this could be a little bit, maybe not this bad, but you might get something of red. We'll see. Stick around for that one. Next, we're going to look at TRAC, Origin Trail, trading around 2600 Satoshis. Yeah, look, pretty good, pretty good. It did find some turnaround here. Oops, need the other tool enabled. All right, so we found some turnaround here. The concern is, though, that just like previously in the Pirate Chain price chart, that this could be just an intermediate candle, especially when we look at like the wick on this candle is much bigger on top still. So anyway, but it did turn around, got rejected here up to 3200 Satoshis level. So intra-day, like, sorry, intra-week, within the week, trading pretty nicely. During the week, though, we are getting some choppiness, if we see it like this. But nicely enough, we're getting a trend with higher lows. So that's good. Now the question is, can it make higher highs than previously? And that will be interesting to watch, in which case, but here's the thing, as we saw, got rejected a lot up here, came down, went back up. So yeah, we'll see. Can it push into this zone again and close around here, making higher lows on the closes for the coming weeks, or not? Maybe this week the green candle is going to have a wick and it's going to close smaller green, or you know, there is always potential to be in the red, whatever. But it looks like, in my opinion, most likely what happened here is you get your move down, a bigger move up, and then we're gonna play ourselves towards the down again and then continue. That's one guess. And then obviously the other guess is we made our move down, we are chopping around, making higher lows, and then eventually we'll be able to break out to the upside and go further. And I think that's definitely a very good possibility as well. The only concern would be, let's say, in the momentum indicators, looks like it's ready to cross over at any time and start going negative. Same thing here with this RSI. I mean, it could go either direction, to be fair, and start forming weekly bearish divergence. But yeah, based on this MACD, it's unclear what direction this chart wants to go right now. And I think I guess the whole market is, yeah, like it hasn't even touched the 20-week moving average when I bring in the Bollinger Band. So yeah, I don't see. I think at least it needs to touch this Bollinger Band. Come on. Anyway, whatever. I just don't see the case for like an immediate turnaround necessarily, and I see an opportunity for further consolidation in these corrective moves. However, like I said, on a closing basis, we're making an uptrending move. So yeah, we'll see what that leads to, at least in terms of the higher lows. What we really need again is that higher high, and that'll tell us if we have more potential to go higher. Otherwise, it's likely that we'll just turn back around and yeah, come down towards these zones here. So stick around for that. We'll watch, see what happens there. The other option though, like currently, if we see some sort of 1, 2, and a 3 and a 4, then we're in a 4. So we could expect the 5 to be coming. So maybe just the 20-week moving average is something really to look at as a significant support level. Okay, that's the consideration for this chart. All right, and I think that's it for now on the origin trail price chart. I'm going to move on. Let's take a look at DERO BTC. Okay, 20,000 Satoshis. Where are we this week? Yeah, so there you have it. It looks like after last week, we are breaking through this Ichimoku cloud zone. And rather than moving up towards a 20-period average first. So it looks like this trajectory is in play for DERO. Continued negative momentum. Who knows how low the RSI needs to go. My guess is, well, you're here at this price level as soon, or sorry, at this level for the oscillator, and as soon as you break below it, you're coming down to these levels here. So maybe it'll turn around a little bit on the RSI first before it comes back down, you know, based on this kind of activity potential. Yeah, the other option is like, is it possible that the price is going to break below the channel? In which case you might be ending the move right there, and then you can find whatever needs to happen next for the future. Okay. But my best guess so far remains something like this, and then we can figure that out. Okay. All right. So stick around for some more DERO insights as we move forward on these weekly price charts and this weekly roundup. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying it so far. I hope it's helpful, giving you something to think about. Again, now we have LTC, which is another one of these altcoins, which is at the lower end of its price action level. It's potentially reaching its lowest lows. Of course, we had intra-week action back in the early life, but really it's more so this lows from 2017 that we're getting towards today. And you know what has happened, interestingly, on the LTC price chart weekly against BTC is we have a couple of these, you know, where we spring and we back test it, but it wasn't quite finished. So we spring and we're back testing it again. So is it possible that it's finished now? We are, if we look at the line chart, we are working on potentially higher lows. So that would be a great thing for the price to turn around. However, we are very close to making lower lows than previously. And we are currently trading lower than the lowest lows of the 2017 timeframe. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chance to keep going lower. But based on this kind of RSI action, steadily climbing, and the price steadily declining. It feels like there's something brewing. There's been a lot of neutralization of the price action in terms of the momentum. So what's that going to look like when it turns to something like this? And the other thought that I had was, when we break out this chart, I basically see something like this, up, down, and now we're making a little up, down. And so what is it going to look like? Is it just going to be a small little dinky up, down like that forever? These are possibilities on some of these altcoin charts for sure, no doubt, against BTC. And yet they can go up in dollar value at the same time, as long as BTC is over time. So yeah, that's possible. But having said that, we had an impulse here. Oops, move up, move down, move up, significant, move down, move up, significant. It kind of went choppy up and down for a little while here. So we can keep that in its sense like that, and then a longer move down. And so yeah, what are we? We're at the downside. We are at the downside. We could keep going lower, but at some point it looks like it's time for a turnaround. How much of a turnaround? Well, I wonder when is the time we're going to get one of these up moves that takes us towards a significant level like this downtrending resistance. And is that even possible? Is it possible at this time to do that? And what would be the relative gain there? What would be the percentage gain? Roughly, I mean, against Bitcoin, you're talking 2x, 3x. So you're talking 200% tripling. You know, if you have 1 Bitcoin in this Litecoin chart, then you'll have 3 Bitcoin in the Litecoin chart at this type of a peak. So I guess that's possible in an altcoin season, and that's the idea. We're looking for one of these types of moves up. All right, that's on the Litecoin chart on the weekly time frame. And we're at the lower end, so the likelihood of getting one of these pumps is close, but maybe it needs a bit more of an angle down before we get a strong move up. You know, this is a little too sideways and churny. Maybe it needs to have a sharp dump first and then can, you know, as a capitulation, and then can move higher. Possible. And if that's the case, maybe it already had it right here, and it's done, and we're just confirming that. So we'll see. Let's stick around. You can stick around and find out. Well, I'm going to stick around and find out for all of us too. Okay, I'm moving on from the Litecoin price chart, and we are going to BNB. What's happening on BNB this week? Let's enable the Bollinger Band. Let's enable the moving average 200, and let's enable the Ichimoku cloud. Okay. There was a chart that I saw that I had bounced right off the 200 weekly moving average. It might be the Theta chart. I'm gonna have to go back and just double check that because I thought that was brilliant. Yeah, how are we looking here? Well, we rounded. That's not good. And that topping sign of a candle here is showing that there's a potential significant topping here. You know, when you're dealing with the Bollinger Bands like this, and the Bollinger Bands expand and the price pushes higher from such a violent impulse, whether it's up or down, at some point it has to equalize, and that's when it comes down to the lower end, or if it's going down, that's when it goes to the higher end. Okay, it goes to the opposite end, and it kind of oscillates. And when this price here bounces, comes back up here, and doesn't continue this move higher, and instead fizzles out like that, that's a significant sign that there's correction occurring. And it's not, and a correction of a bigger degree that matches the type of impulsive move degree. And so on that note, I get the sense that this chart is, is just going to at least go sideways. Binance is such a strong play here, such a strong coin. I'm gonna get rid of this expanding action, expanding trend lines, because we went above it, broke above it briefly, got rejected, and now we're moving back below it. So we'll see what happens, but I don't see this as very important in terms of trend line right now. But what I do see is we're looking for getting support at the 20-week moving average. Let's see if it can hold above there. That's possible, but it already broke down once, so I'm guessing it'll break down again and use this Ichimoku cloud as support. So I think there's a good chance, because Binance coin is just so strong. Now, having said that, markets can flip the opposite direction than what we expect. So that's a good reason to think that maybe it could break down below and have a bad bear market. But so far, this Ichimoku cloud looks like it will serve as a good support zone. For the price to get down there, that would require roughly another, it's only 20% drop against Bitcoin. So that's definitely possible. And it brings us to the lower end of the Bollinger Band. And it brings us to use the Ichimoku cloud as support. And that's pretty awesome, I would say. And that's a good sign. So watch Binance price, look for it to drop. But look for if it's going to drop below the 20-week moving average. And if it does drop below 20-week moving average, you can be pretty sure it's going to come down towards this zone here around the 0.0084. Let's get a little closer. And definitely like towards the Ichimoku cloud, 0.008, anywhere around there. So that's Binance for you. Having said that, there is definitely a chance that it could just hold above the 20-week moving average while things consolidate and then get a chance to move higher in a bull market in an impulsive fashion. Okay, so that's that. My bias is towards this downside cloud. There's Binance for you. And Chainlink against BTC. So, okay, it was Chainlink. Yes, good. It was not Theta, it was Chainlink. Yes, that's right, even more awesome, okay? Because even though it made a lower low here on the weekly closing level than this low, look at this 200-week moving average here coming up. This is a 200-week moving average. I'm gonna just confirm that for you. Okay, it's the moving average, 200-week, okay? And we broke out of this downtrending resistance line. So that's a very significant move on a weekly time frame from Chainlink, going from the bottom of the band to the top of the band. Maybe it needs to consolidate, coming down towards this 20-week moving average over the next few weeks. We'll see what happens, but maybe not. Maybe it's just ready to rocket higher. The next checklist will be if it happens before April, then the next checklist will be getting through this 0.008. 7 level, where the previous resistance, previous support, previous resistance, where that lives. So I think that's where Chainlink is going. It's going to this this next level, which from here is another roughly 40%. Now, having said that, I think it's about 50-50, because we tapped that top of that Bollinger Band, and we could definitely just, find our support, confirm the spring, and then go higher. And then by then, we are right below this part of the cloud, and then we're looking at 0.006 as a potential resistance, or as a potential, fight within this cloud to start moving higher. But even until August, the Ichimoku cloud is providing that top band right here at these previously resistance turns support turns resistance levels. Okay, resistance, support, resistance levels. So that's the kind of idea I'm looking at Chainlink. Either it's ready to keep popping because the market wants to have something that it can use to increase its value, its wealth. So the market pushes this one. That's definitely possible. All of the potential for profit moves into one ticker here in Chainlink, amongst others maybe. That's one option. The other option is that it made its move. It made its signal like, oh, we broke above this significant downtrending resistance, but now we're going to consolidate, and then we're going to go whenever that is, whenever we're ready. That's possible. Okay, so Chainlink looking very strong once again, using that 200-week moving average as support. Super huge move. I think that's super bullish, and yeah, look for Chainlink to roar going forward. Here's my thought. Look, we had this trend line, right? We had this trend line going, amazing, interesting, okay, from these relative lows here. And what happens? And even if you want to take this one as the low, like, okay, fine, we're checking, you get this type of supportive price action here along this uptrend when, fine, the move was done here, but you don't know until you're like really breaking this line. But what I'm saying is, even here, like, let's say you're starting from here, right? Because you're taking the move starting from there. So as soon as you break this trend line, you're like, you know, okay, and you know, this significant aspect of the trend line was used as resistance here. After the price broke down below it, it came back up, resistance, confluencing with the 20-week moving average and everything. So what I'm trying to say is that this uptrending trend line here gets broken. Now we have a potential to say, all right, boom, here is the line right here. This is your new trend line touch point and an inflection point from the change between a correction to now potentially moving towards the next impulse. And in this case, it looks like the impulse will be higher. So in having said that, let's just kind of take the long view here from the very bottom of the move back in 2018 July. From 2018 July bottom to 2020 August top, we are now 2022 January, and it looks like we have finished this corrective move. That would be incredible. Having said that, what are we looking at going forward? I just want to project here. So one important idea or notion is, I said, yeah, we might be going up and we're ready to go right away, or we might first have to come back down. So in that sense, we really want to use this trend line as the support, okay? At the worst, I should say. In fact, we wouldn't want it to touch. Well, it doesn't matter if we want it to touch or not. If it touches the trend line, then that becomes the official trend line touch point for the beginning of the next impulse. But that's just for counting ideas. Mainly in terms of the trend and in terms of the importance here is, okay, we want to see this hold. And if it doesn't hold, then you know you're probably gonna keep going sideways or down for much longer rather than moving into a new impulse presently. So I guess that's all I'm saying. Chainlink has a really strong opportunity to just keep going higher. It also has the opportunity to come back down further to retest these lows and maybe even touch this trend line before it fights with the cloud that's coming here. Yeah, but Chainlink definitely looking strong. It's starting to get popular again in terms of sentiment. Yeah, these are good signs. And look, on the weekly MACD, just getting started with some positive momentum, and it's bigger than the previous one, so maybe that's a good sign. Maybe we'll, usually it tends to last a little, at least a few weeks, so maybe not. It's still in a turnaround phase. Nothing is quite clear yet, but on a daily level, you can look for some good entry points or whatever if you feel like it. Like this price level here, what's that? Even on a weekly level, oh wow, of course it coincides with the 20-week moving average. So wherever the 20-week moving average is, I don't see that as a bad idea. That's currently around 5,000, not 5,000, sorry. I wish 5,000, 50,000 of the Satoshis. So anyway, that's where you are right now. And I think we're done with Chainlink. Yeah, it's looking decent. It definitely could stand to come back down a bit. But none of this financial advice, and you never know which way direction it's going to go. It depends, like what market participants decide to do, the demand and the supply, how that plays out. Okay, so we're going to watch that. So stick around for that. Interesting look on Chainlink. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are very, very popular names for the most part. Chainlink as well, we know, and BNB and others. So here we have DOT currently. Wow, good, good, good. So we are right at that uptrending support line. So it's either now or never, really. If it's going to be breaking below this, then it might be a bit weaker. I think it's going to get a chance to go. You know, we have a spring here, and now we're back testing it. We're going to hopefully make some higher lows here and be able to go higher. We got rejected by the 20-week moving average. This time we can break through it, go towards the top of the Bollinger Band. So the next target for DOT would be around the 78,000 Satoshis roughly. And that's relative to these price levels. And from there, I'm guessing we're going to try and break out, but it might need to chop first before going higher. But yeah, that's the basic idea. I think that's where it's going, because we're definitely at the lower end of the Bollinger Band. Roughly, we bounced from it and it's coming back down to it. So if it comes back down to it and can't do anything significant, it's going to impulse down. So my bias is to the upside on DOT. I don't really have much else to say other than it looks like there's a chance it'll return to relatively positive momentum sometime soon. However, now having said this, it is pretty 50-50 though. Like, even though my bias is to the upside, there is definitely a good chance that this thing comes down lower and we'll have to figure something else out. But for now, this trend line is holding, and yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. So stick around for that. In the coming weeks, we'll probably know in the next week or two what's going to be happening relative to this trend line. Okay, and that's it for DOT. Nothing much else to report. Just have a beginning of an Ichimoku cloud forming, and yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh, wait, one thing we can add, fine, a shorter term notion is that we did break out from this downtrend. Okay, we had this downtrend, broke out of it. This is a shorter term local thing, but that's cool. We broke out of this downtrend, sprung out of it, rejected 20-week moving average. Now we're back testing. We're back testing that breakout type of move, or that spring type of move. I should say, yeah, breakout of this downtrending channel, or downtrend. Yeah, it could probably be a channel. If we went to the daily, I bet we would find a channel here that it breaks out of. Well, not only that it breaks out of, but that it a channel that it follows in terms of the price. Oops. Anyway, this is not important. This is just the week. This is more for looking at a daily. That channel would be better on a daily and a 4-hourly. On the weekly, it's noticeable. We broke out of it, come back down to it to retest. So I guess that's another thought to add. And then in that case, now we will bring the trend here and say, yeah, we're very close to finding the direction. Bias to the upside, but take that with a grain of salt. Okay, that's it for the DOT chart. Moving on to Ftm Phantom. Okay, what have we got here, Phantom? We have this trend line here that we respected around here, and we are far away from it. Not too sure how to feel about this current weekly candle, but definitely the previous weekly candle, you know, after 1, 2, 3, 4, and especially these 3 momentum candles higher, losing momentum at the top of the Bollinger Band, went from the top of the Bollinger Band to the 20-week moving average to the top of the Bollinger Band, potentially losing momentum here for some more corrective activity. We'll see. Currently, the main support zone will be at this closing price here, and we're going to call that there at about the where is that? That's about 40, 47, 45, you know, like 4,500 Satoshis. Okay. So there you have it. If I count this out, I don't really see. Yeah, I'm not too clear. Interesting. Okay. This could be completing here, and it could be in consolidation mode for a while. I'm not sure. The market might have more to give, like to allow. But you know, this divergence here already is concerning. That it's starting to build. This divergence here is starting to build, is concerning. So, and it's it's bearish divergence. Yeah, it's concerning in the sense that this is such a big time frame. So if I'm in this thing and I haven't taken profits yet, I'm definitely taking profits here. And if I've taken profits already, I might lighten the load even more. And if I'm not selling anything, then I'm not buying anything, and I'm waiting. At best, I'm waiting until this like 4,500-ish level. Yeah, but more likely than that, I'm looking at these levels here around 3,000 satoshis type of level, which interestingly plays along this this cloud formation, which is starting to form. So maybe it'll come down and get some support off the cloud. And look, we have this uptrending channel. So you know, currently my main trajectory for Phantom is to be here by June. It just feels right. It looks right based on the move here. All right, let's just take a look. Okay, here is our low of lows. Okay, we've got an impulse move here and a correction here. That's 1, 2. We've got some form of impulse move here. Now, do we have an impulse move here and a correction here and our final impulse move here, number 5? Well, the third impulse, which we call wave 5 of an Elliott wave impulse move. That's possible. If that's the case, if this is a correct account where we have some sort of 1, 2, and then we have here a 3, 4, and then here we have a 5. Well, then I have not many words to say other than look out below. So yeah, that's the idea, right? But having said that, maybe this is not the count. So that's possible. It's possible. But for now, that looks like the count. That's what my bias is. So yeah, that's about it. Again, potential that it could go higher, but my guess is too late for that for now. For now, could always go higher later, but yeah, that's the general TA on Phantom. Is I would wait for whatever consolidation is happening, or I would wait for whatever confirmation needs to happen. Like, yeah, it's not worth it to hold a bag like this. You might as well wait, buy higher once things are confirmed. At least then you're not bag holding right away. That's Phantom for you. Sorry, folks. If you're a Phantom fan, friends of Phantom, no worries. We all love each other here. Okay, not like that. Next, Solana. Speaking of loving each other, not like that. I love you, Solana, not like that. Well, because, yeah, it looks like, again, we are reaching. I mean, those of you who studied or looked at or heard about the Wyckoff ideas, how is this not potentially a form of Wyckoff distribution here? And one of the concerns here currently is the price is now trading below the 20-week moving average. And yeah, one of the positives, and could be negatives, is that the Bollinger Bands are already starting to narrow. So there is going to be movement to one direction or the other. Here's one concern, is that the price will go down through here towards these levels. Okay, and even worse, maybe towards these levels down here. So maybe price is going to make its way through here eventually, and maybe even down to here. The other option, though, apart from having some sort of bounce like that or whatever, the other option where the price does not go through the Ichimoku cloud that's building here and instead stays above it, is, you know, some sort of consolidation sideways, and that very well could be happening. Like that's totally possible. You know, I don't know exactly what or when or how it looks or whatever, but definitely possible, and definitely possible. Especially because, interestingly, it hasn't broken the trend hard and to the downside yet. Even though, however, it did break the trend, or sorry, it's so close. Yeah, I broke the trend. Okay, it's basically breaking the trend, and potentially, yeah, let's call it breaking the trend. Let's look at some of these candle structures. Yeah, it's so nondescript over here. Definitely a chance that it could just be another correction before moving higher, similar to some of those Binance corrections. There's definitely a possibility there. But in that case, I do still see something like this happening, where we move towards the bottom of the Bollinger Band, this price type here, previous levels, which is around the what, 250,000 Satoshis. And that's about it there. Yeah, it's either that or it's a dump, one or the other. And the dump is definitely possible once we, especially as we start clearing this trend line. Wait a second. We want to keep it a little bit more clear than this. You know, I don't want to think that it's below the trend line when it's not. So let me just play with it like this, okay, for fun. Let's give all the benefit of the doubt to the intra-week price action and say, basically, we are not quite broken down yet. So there is still hope for you yet, Solana. Yeah, it's relatively strong. I mean, a weaker chart from here might have just made a lower high and then just kept dumping. But this didn't do that. So we're gonna watch. Stick around. It'll become clear sooner than later. Is my estimation on this. And I guess once the dumping, like if a real dumping happens, you're going to see a big dumping happen on this. Otherwise, it'll just be a correction where there's some redistribution and reaccumulation. Okay, and then the market can move higher. That's the other possibility for Solana. Interesting looking chart. It's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, in the sense that it's against BTC. It's still hovering around its range highs, massively all-time highs. So that's quite special. Okay, that's it though from Solana. Again, I don't know if I could say I would buy here. If I was really looking for a strategic entry, like I said, I would look for down here, and if anything, I would probably look for confirmation. Like I wouldn't even just look to get in here. I would look for it to confirm on a more daily time frame, and also checking on the weekly. Like, are we breaking down below this channel? Sorry, this trend line. In which case, there's more concern. Then it's like I would be patient. I would definitely be patient before. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to scoop this up right away against BTC. It's against BTC. In USD terms, that might be a different chart. But having said that, it's probably better off just to hold the BTC, right? If this is going to dump against BTC, that's the basic idea. That's why looking against the pairs against BTC can be helpful. Okay, so that's Solana. I hope that was helpful for you around Solana. Some thoughts around that. Again, there's none of this financial advice. I definitely am not an expert. I have not been studying finance, market behavior, crowd psychology, and those things long enough. But having said that, I'm getting better. And yeah, I think what I said about Solana holds true. This is showing a lot of strength. It's not just dumping, and so there's not as much fear around this. However, again, the main concern is this big trend line. Like that, as soon as we start breaking below it, all bets are off. Anything could happen, really. And most likely, what could happen is a significant dump, and then figure out where to go from next from there. Anyway, that's Solana price chart against BTC. And in fact, to be fair, my bias is for something more like this to happen against BTC, because I imagine at some point BTC is just going to rocket up to the next level, whether it's 100,000 or beyond, whatever that needs to be for the Bitcoin price. And so in that case, these altcoins against BTC might see relatively weak action compared to BTC. We'll see though. It's been definitely been a different market cycle this time compared to, for example, 2017. It's been similar in many ways, but different in other ways, including BTC strength alongside with altcoin strength, and altcoins holding their own at times when Bitcoin was dumping. Other times though, they were dumping hard too and harder. So that's just what it is. All right, those are some rants and rambles on some of these altcoin charts. I'm going to move on from the Solana chart right now. What am I looking at here? I'm looking at Avax. Yeah, so Avalanche was also getting very, very popular, and this one looks like it has broken down from a significant trend line. Let's see. Yeah, so on a closing basis, definitely broken down. On a candle basis, yeah, we can say it's breaking down. So the next support is roughly around this 20-week moving average, which confluences with the previous support and previous resistance. And so that support was around December, this week of the 6th December, and then previously it was back in September, end of September, where we're getting resistance there at this 20-week moving average, which is around 150,000, 160,000 Satoshis. Let's see. Yeah, it's breaking down this trend line, and we've got this price action here, and beyond that, the bottom of the channel is the next big uptrending support. Now, would it get all the way there when you have this type of price action here and this type of price action here? I don't know. Maybe not until you reach somewhere around. Well, yeah, by then, I mean that this would be a precipitous dump. I do not see it coming down straight like that. Maybe it'll reach down towards this 150 level here, which again relates back here. But you never know. I mean, this is the beginning of the impulse move up here, so maybe it comes all the way back down to its beginning. That's possible, but that would be pretty bearish for the Avalanche chart. Having said that, it had been building this this bearish type of divergence. So yeah, now we're looking for that bearish divergence to play out in towards bearish action, towards a correct, strongly downward movement. So yeah, let's see what happens here for Avalanche. But again, just like some of those other price charts, maybe it just ends up being a bit more of a choppy sideways thing over time. And because a choppy sideways thing over time does for the momentum indicators, does allow them time to reset and go into the oversold positions, or just to get lower, maybe to these previous lows or something like that, while the price itself, it doesn't have to be dumping in the same trajectory. So we'll see what happens with Avalanche, but it looks like everything is well, at least all of the previously hyped up and big names are getting to the point where now it's time for them to correct. And just like Chainlink. Look, Chainlink was the huge name. Everybody was talking about it so much, and it was changing lives and changing wives, as they say. But at some point, it finds its correction time. And if the impulse time, if the move up time was a significantly long and big move up, then the correction might take a significantly long time as well. So that's just what it is. And in this case, Avalanche has been getting a good move up, down, move up. I guess we're going down, and then we'll get another move up. That's my sense. That's my best sense of this chart right here. So we'll probably get to about these levels and then go higher. And remember, this is a weekly time frame, so it takes a while to build. Okay. It's about 7 times longer than a daily price chart. That's it for Avalanche. Those are some thoughts around the Avalanche price chart. coming towards the close here, we have 3 left. We've got MATIC, Luna, and then Atom. We looked at MATIC and Luna last time, so we'll take another look here. What is going on? So yeah, last time we were looking at MATIC with this these 2 highs up here, top of the Bollinger Band. My best guess here is we're coming back down to this 20-week moving average towards this price cluster here, this type of support zone here. By the time it gets down to the 20-week average, maybe it'll be up here at this previous resistance and this support zone here. That's definitely a good option, which correlates, and like as we see the 20-week moving up, and it correlates nicely. If I just give us a little bit of a look here. Correlates nicely with the Ichimoku cloud zone here as well, and the uptrending channel that we had previously carved out. So we'll see what happens with that, especially if MATIC is poised to go higher in this current run. But having said that, we have some long-term bearish divergence playing out here. Let's take a look at the candle formations. Yeah, the only saving aspect of this, the reason why I think that this bearish divergence might not play out is because of the intra-week trading here, which was higher than back in May compared to now in December here previously, where we had the closing highs were higher. So some seasoned analysts prefer to use the closing prices for the divergences, and especially on a weekly chart, I don't see why not. So in that sense, I do feel a bearishness around this chart, in the sense that yeah, I do see the price coming back down towards these levels, and so it'll be correcting from there. That arrow got away from me, but basically, yeah, it looks like this is the next target level for MATIC. That's just my sense of it. Of course, I could be wrong on this. This could just have reached a resistance, come back, find its support, and then move higher, breach the resistance, and continue to find all-time highs on a closing basis. Definitely possible. But based on some of the other charts we were looking at and what's happening, I just get the sense that might need a bit of time to slow down and unwind. And of course, you know, once it's all game theory type of stuff, so the people who are holding it might say, okay, well, it looks like it's stalling out a bit, maybe it's time to lighten up the bags on this one. Just want to get this. Okay. Just wanted to look at some of this price action here. Like if we take this low here and fit this low here, I mean, we're breaking the local uptrend. We're breaking it to the downside. So there's going to be a bit of time here for some correction. Maybe you're lucky and you only really get down to this level here, which currently would be about minus 30% for an altcoin against BTC as well. That's reasonable. And in terms of a retracement from this type of low here. In fact, wait a sec. Just gonna check the trend line touch points and say, yeah, most likely the low we'd be using is probably this low here. But either way, we'll do it from both. We'll take the retracement from this low to this high. And yeah, that would be between 50 and 61.8%. That would still be a very bullish bounce over here and allow for a continued trend for sure. And then if we take the higher move here as our trend line touch point, then it's a bit of a bigger move, but still it's around the 61.8%. So there's hope for you yet, MATIC, but currently it looks like it's time for a slowdown. Having said that, maybe it's not, you know, maybe this is just, like I said, we're just starting to test this new levels of resistance, and then we will break out and go higher. So watch out for that one. But my bias is to the downside personally. That's just what I'm seeing here technically. All right, that's MATIC for you. Next, Luna against the BTC, currently trading around 17,000 Satoshis. Yeah, Luna as well. I mean, you've got a 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, 5 here, possibly. Maybe it's expanding though, and it's it's like a 1 here, and then this next wave is all part of the 3, and we've only done a portion of it. But what I'd like to do is just compare these moves relative to each other. So the 1 move, compare it internally with this potential 3 move, and yeah, in my opinion, this whole thing would have to be the 3, because then we get to that 161.8 extension. That makes more sense than keeping it at 1-to-1, like this 1 wave and this 3 wave being 1-to-1 roughly, and then the 5 wave being like 78.6 of that. Just doesn't seem to be well proportioned. So in that sense, Luna looks like it's in we're starting or involved with potentially with the 4th wave of this overall move here, in which case it might look, it might bring us all the way to this Ichimoku cloud there. It might bring us all the way out to this Ichimoku cloud zone, and then this level here of this uptrending channel might find the uptrending channel here out in June. So that's possible, definitely. In which case, I guess it's looking like altcoins might have a little bit of a trouble. Some of the altcoins, some of the popular ones, might have a trouble for the first half of the year in terms of their Bitcoin valuation. That'll be very interesting to watch. So we'll watch it. So far, though, you could argue for some potential hidden or even some bearish divergence here on the RSI. Okay, and then on the MACD, though, you can't. You got the higher MACD levels with the histogram. Sorry, higher histogram levels here and the higher price levels here compared to back here in September. So you don't really see any divergence yet there. Yeah, this is so far my best guess on the Luna chart for now. Okay, now what we're going to do also, as usual, is take a trend line and bang that out right there and say, all right, well, we have a bit of time before we even get close to this. Well, not true, but yes, like one, depending on what kind of red candles we get here. If we just go sideways, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have about a month before we really start getting close to this trend line. So Luna has definitely been more recently strong, and as seen by where the price is relative to the trend line. Okay, that's it for Luna. Okay, a bit better than some of the others. Then again, it might just be part of the same cycle as Solana and as MATIC. You know, maybe those are as well expanding their wave structures, so that the first and second wave are immediate, but then the third wave is maybe more intricate, more complex, with subdivisions and maybe extension and that sort of stuff. Anyway, there is your Luna thoughts. And I think we have one more remaining. It is the Atom chart against BTC, currently holding at around, 88,000 Satoshis. Here we go for Atom, making this giant wedge, really. His price is just wedging up. If we look at candle formations, it's just really strong, but we are tapping the top of this Bollinger Band again. We already tapped it out there, made it below the 20-week moving average, tapping it out again. My guess is we're going to come back down towards this uptrending channel. Sorry, uptrending trend line here, and as support, and the Ichimoku cloud that confluences with it. So that's my sense there overall. And what happens after we get to this point here, I'm not quite sure. Doesn't really seem clear yet. potential bearish divergence forming here on the MACD and on the RSI. So we'll see how that plays out based on this price. Like, it's potential because we are trading. We have traded above it, but if we take it on the closing basis, like we did with the other charts, is not quite there yet. In which case, then we are not in bearish divergence, and that's cool. That's fine. So I'm going to remove that thought currently. And yeah, I do see though that the bias is that we could likely consolidate a bit more. Having said that, Adam is just getting started on people's, you know, it's starting to get the bigger mass hype. So maybe it is ready to break out of these levels and find new all-time highs. There's definitely an opportunity here for the price to do that. And maybe instead, you know, maybe it just fizzles a bit, gets higher, and then fizzles a bit, and then continues higher. Definitely possible. The other option is that it comes down to the Ichimoku cloud, the trend line, and then continues higher at some point. Oops, that went way higher than I expected, because you never know. Maybe it goes higher and then comes down, or it goes higher and then keeps going higher. Those are two options. And then the third option is we break this level here now in these next coming weeks, and we continue higher. Maybe, well, obviously we would probably go up, come down for support, and then go higher. That's usually what is expected. Candles, yeah. But having said this, we are a month of green. If this week holds green, so potential for some retracement after that, and then continue higher. I don't see, this is 4 green candles in a row. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we haven't really had 4 in a row on this chart on a weekly level in green. So oops. So yeah, I mean, there's a chance for a turnaround here, but at the same time, this could be a chance for a move higher. So if if I didn't have any of this stuff, I would wait. I would wait, because if it goes higher and then comes back down and finds support here, then that's a good chance to get in and not be holding a bag. And then the other option is, you know, if you don't get in yet, you wait and it comes down here, then maybe this is the level to start looking at to get in. And that level is roughly around these previously resistance levels here. And that's potentially around the 60, like the 63,000 level roughly. But maybe this level here, bang and bang, maybe these are going to be more significant, and the price is not really going to fall below a like this 80 or 78,000 level. We'll see. You're going to find out very soon. I think if we looked at it on a daily price chart, we'd get a better idea about it. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, but I did. Like, I did it. I didn't mean to do it, but I did it. So having said that, yeah, like, you're above this Ichimoku cloud, you still got some room here, but you are within a correction, and so looks like you could make a little bit of a downturn. So anyway, but we're looking at the weekly price chart, and what I wanted to do was draw in that trend. So yeah, it is like, how long are you going to sustain this trend? So we'll see what that looks like. That's it. We are done. We've gone through all of these price charts. I hope it's been informative, educational, entertaining for you, something for you to think about, and something for you to look forward to for next time. I'm going to be back with more of these altcoin price charts. And if you want to see less of something or more of something, just let me know in the comments below. Thanks for being here. Hit that like button. If you're still watching, I love you very much for being here and being who you are. And if you're not watching, well, you can't hear me right now. So whatever, I still love you too. I don't even know any of you. And it feels good to be sharing my thoughts about these price charts. So that's what I'm doing. Until next time, I am wishing you love, peace, and happiness. Goodbye.